Good afternoon. Well, a few videos ago, I was asked by somebody on where do I get my information from. And I get a lot of my information from books and the internet, of course. But he was wanting to know which books. Where's a good place to start? And so I grabbed some of the books that I use as reference material, and we're going to go through them. Okay. First one is A Complete Idiot's Guide to Paganism. Now, if you are new to paganism, this has a lot of good general information that's going to give you a big picture of what European paganism is all about. And it is an excellent book to start with. And so I think that you should go there to start off with. Now, I am a history nut, and there are a lot of books out there. Oh, okay. Now, I just bought this book probably about 3 weeks ago. I have not had a chance to read it or find out if it's any good. And there is the Everything Paganism book right here. And so this probably has the same amount of information as Complete Idiot's Guide to Paganism. So this might also be a good book to get if you are just starting off on your path. Now, this person was asking mostly about my how do I get information about the Celtic pagans. Now, one of the biggest books that you can get is also about Celtic Wisdom. You see, paganism is not only about magic. Yes, there is a lot of magic in paganism, but it is not the primary thing about paganism. A lot of people get confused and think that paganism is more about the magic and less about the spirituality, when it's more about the spirituality. Paganism is a way of life. Witchcraft is a skill. But I'm digressing a little bit. I have bought The Complete Idiot's Guide to Celtic Wisdom. Now, this book I loved reading, and I love to get information about this. Now, this book does talk a lot about the Celts, how they viewed things. They have some of the words that the pagans used, where they originated from, their lore. It gives a little bit about how, for like the Celts, the number 3 is very important. If you notice that in a lot of Celtic mythology, the number 3 pops up quite a bit. Such as how they divide their realms. They don't view the world as, the elements, earth, air, wind, and fire, spirit. They believe it as to be the sky, the land, and the sea, the 3 levels. And they are connected and interwork with each other. They don't separate. And so I always thought that was quite wonderful about them. It gives a little bit about the symbolism, a little bit about the gods and goddesses in paganism. This is a great book to read to learn about some of the key parts of Celtic paganism. And then I also just bought this book, The Everything About Celtic Wisdom, and just like the other, I have not had a chance to read it yet, but I believe that this would also have some good information for you to look for. These books are more easy to get, and that's why I started with these. So if you're just starting out, these might be some books that might be easier for you to find. Another book, I don't agree with her completely, and I'm not a big fan of Llewellyn. There is Celtic Myth and Magic. This is a book full of information, and that's what I kind of use this for. They have a big section on the Celtic gods and goddesses, and they are listing every single Celtic god and goddess that she can reference from all the different Celtic lands: Gaul, Scotland, Ireland. You know, if they're continental, Welsh. She's listing them. So some of these gods and goddesses, well, you'll see be listed many times because each tribe has a different name for the same goddess or god. So this is another book that would be good for you to find. And also because it's talking about magic, they also talk about some of the heroes in Celtic mythology. And I mean, to tell you how, I'm trying to find the end here. Out of this book, yeah, I'm trying to get this part between my fingers, that's all about the gods and goddesses. So this is a good reference material for you when you're just starting out. I talked about good. We got to hit the bad quickly before I forget. This is Wicca, an Irish pagan tradition by Eden McCoy. The same person who wrote this book wrote this book. It sucks. Part of Celtic, one of the things I love about the Celtics people and their traditions is they had a high regard for women. The Celts were one of the few that treated women as equals to men, different but the same. Women could be fighters, warriors, and fight right next to men. They were trained in combat. In marriages, for the Celtic people, whoever had the most money at the time of the marriage made the decisions about the money. So if the wife had more money, she was the one who made the decisions. And is that the way it should be? You know, not just the man only. Women in the Celtic beliefs were able to inherit land. In many of these other cultures at this time, that wasn't allowed. We know about Boudicca. Okay, she was the queen of the Iceni. She fought a major battle and destroyed a whole Roman legion and burned what is now London to the ground, killing anybody who sided with the Romans. So, you know, that was how important, you know, the Celts viewed women. And you see in this book, she basically was saying that the Druids were a bunch of sexist bastards, and that wasn't the case. There were Druidesses, or female Druids. All right, now back to the positive. Like I said, it's about spirituality. This book right here, okay, it's Kindling the Celtic Spirit by Mara Freeman. Now, I love this book. It is a wonderful book. It goes through the year, and it talks about, you know, like in January, how things are going in January and throughout. And there are recipes in here, and there's talking about, you know, something that's sacred like the trees. It's just a wonderful book. And, you know, if you want to embrace spirituality, there are times where you got to do some of these recipes. I mean, a Scottish tea. Okay, that sounds nice. So do it. And they're giving you, and like this one, festival names. Now, they do this for all the 8 Sabbaths in paganism, where they're going to give you the Irish Gaelic, Scottish Gaelic, and Manx name for the various Sabbaths. So it is very interesting to learn all this stuff. And so I think that this book, if you have the time, is a wonderful book to read. Another book that is Scottish Witchcraft by Raymond Buckland. Raymond Buckland is a well-established writer. He has written many books, including Big Boo, the complete book of witchcraft, which I own up there. And this book does have some information into it, but it is, in my opinion, more focused on the magic and very little on spirituality. And it's a bare bones concept where he's going, you don't have that many tools and such. So it'd be an interesting read, and you might be able to get something out of it. There are a lot of people that write Druid books out there. Oh, you're not going to see this. I got a green screen, but this book right here that I have, it's called The Mysteries of Druidry. It is by Brendan Cathbad Myers, PhD. In there is a foreword by Isaac Bonowitz, the founder of the ADF. Now, if you can get a book by Isaac Bonowitz, get it, read it. There are books that I have by Isaac Bonowitz that I just enjoy. One of the books that he has written is the Essential Guide to Druidism. Very informative book. You should get it. Okay. Next book is oh gosh, I don't know if you're going to see this because of the green screen. The Element Encyclopedia of the Celts. It's by Rodney Cathal-Den. I'll put it in here just in case you can't see it. Pretty thick book. In it, this is also a wonderful reference book. There are many pages devoted to the gods. Just opening it up, I came to Demona. Now, the one thing I do not like about this book is that they list the gods as their Roman Celtic name. Apollo this, Mercury that. That's the only bad thing I view about this book. Another good book to get is the Oxford Dictionary of Celtic Mythology, right here. This makes a good reference book. I use this to kind of see what's valid and what's not valid. Like I said, there's a lot of people out there who write Celtic books, and I think some people are writing them just to be writing books and to make some money. You know, here's some information, and they could have things kind of screwed up and all that. And this works as a good way to see how valid their information is. A wonderful book to get, and that is Celtic Traditions, Druids, Fairies, and Wiccan Rituals by Serona Knight. I love the book. It's a very wonderful book to read. It's got a lot of information. If you are interested in Druidism, I found her section about the Druids to be very accurate. There's also many pages that talk about the Celtic gods and goddesses. So, just starting out, if you can also get your hand on this book, go for it. Now, the next book is, this one's poorly constructed, but it does have a lot of information. And the book is called Who Were the Celts by Kevin Duffy. Full of information, yes, but it just seems to have no pattern to it. You could be on one page talking about something that happened 2,000 years ago, then the very next section, it's something that happened 800 years ago. And it's a back and forth. It's just like he took a lot of little bits of information and just threw it together. Hey, there's my book. But if you're looking for information and you can be patient and looking for it, there's another good book for you to read. And the final book that I'm going to suggest to you is The Historic Atlas of the Celtic World by Dr. I.N. Barnes. This one right here. I'm going to try to get it without the reflection. Alright, this is full of maps. If you, it is easier to get the information in your head sometimes if you have a visual aid. The Celtic lands back then covered an immense area. We're talking parts of Germany, Switzerland, all of France, Spain, Portugal, the British Isles were all at one point Celtic lands. And so you're going to get a lot of names, places, and sometimes a map is the greatest thing that you can have. This also has segments talking about like the Druids, the Celtic Pantheon, where the tribes were, migration patterns, and for the spiritual part, this will help. And it is a wonderful book of information. And if you are also studying the Celts, how they progressed to modern times is also important. And so this is, a wonderful book here. They're talking like the birth of Wales, the battles in Scotland, the changes in France, the Celts at war. It is pretty amazing on how the Celts have affected the world and to help shape it into what it is today. So those are the books that I've researched and get my information from. So I hope this helps people out. So everybody take care. Be at peace.